We will now cover Chapter 9, Knowledge Management and E-Learning. This chapter explores the nature of intellectual capital and the technologies and processes that help capture, organize, and make best use of it. The material in this chapter will enable you to describe the three types of intellectual capital and show how both explicit and tacit knowledge contribute to intellectual capital. Describe the steps in launching a knowledge management program, providing examples of the applicable technologies. Explain how human behavior can pose challenges for knowledge management projects and how managers can overcome them. Describe 3 different approaches to e-learning. Explain how to create an e-learning program and the kinds of technologies that can be applied, including the learning management system. And compare and contrast corporate and educational e-learning and e-learning and classroom-based learning. Intellectual capital is the collective knowledge of all the people in an organization that can be productively used to take action. The term arose to highlight the notion that knowledge is an asset just like other kinds of capital that a firm can apply to the production of goods and services. In many cases, it is the one asset that truly distinguishes a successful company from its competitors. 3 main types of intellectual capital reflect the ways human beings contribute intellectual power to an organization. Human capital includes the competencies and knowledge possessed by the organization's employees. Social capital describes the number and quality of all the relationships an organization's employees maintain, not just with one another, but with clients, customers, suppliers, and prospective employees. Structural capital includes the vast storehouse of knowledge about business processes, procedures, policies, contracts, transactions, patents, and other aspects of the organization that are, or could be, documented and stored electronically. 2 major types of knowledge require different management approaches. Explicit knowledge can be documented and codified. It is often stored in information systems, on websites and spreadsheets, or in handbooks and manuals. This kind of structural capital includes all of the summarized data that information systems can provide, along with documentation on business processes, procedures, and policies. It can include both structured and unstructured information, as well as multimedia content. Tacit knowledge is more elusive. IT encompasses the insights, judgment, creative processes, and wisdom that come from learning and long experience in the field, and many trial and errors. Some tacit knowledge is so ingrained that the person may not even be consciously aware that he or she has it, or that other people don't share it. The distinction between explicit and tacit knowledge can be blurry, partly because strategies to make tacit knowledge more explicit are improving dramatically. Knowledge management refers to a set of strategies and practices organizations use to become more systematic about managing intellectual capital. It's also a field of study in which researchers investigate all the roles these intangible assets play, how they contribute to competitive advantage and productivity, and how human behavior interacts with efforts to capture and share knowledge. There are 4 steps in a knowledge management project. The first step is to identify the precise goal of the project, which can be best determined by studying the organization's specific needs. A specific goal with clear aims is more likely to achieve success. The nature of the intellectual capital the organization hopes to capture also guides later steps in the process, such as the methods to capture it and technologies used. Examples of knowledge management goals could include documenting and centralizing the organization's policies and procedures, building a collection of presentation templates, or creating a centralized repository for patent ideas. Once the organization has identified its goals, it needs to locate its sources of knowledge. For projects focused on explicit knowledge and structural capital, much may already be in electronic form, though scattered about in different formats and media types. The tacit knowledge that employees may not even know they possess is more challenging to locate. Much of it is in the minds of the company's experts. Locating these sources means finding the experts wherever they may be working in the organization. Expert location systems are one way to apply technology to finding knowledge. Many expert locator tools on directories in which each employee maintains an online profile that includes details about education, projects, publications, and other hints of expertise. Expert location systems can crawl through databases, websites, email, project summaries, and other electronic documents to refine their expertise ratings. Social network analysis maps and measures the strength of relationships between individuals and groups, represented as nodes in the network. The measures provide insights into network clusters and the roles different people play as leaders or connecting bridges to other networks. These connections are apart from any individual's actual position on a hierarchical organizational chart. Experts who earns respect and recognition and who are also willing to provide assistance will show dense connections in such maps. Before people can take advantage of intellectual capital, it must be captured. An organization can build a knowledge base to gather its structural knowledge assets, organize them electronically, and make them productive for the company. Attempts to capture tacit knowledge benefit from less structured approaches that encourage people to describe their knowledge in their own words or through their own actions. The goal is to capture knowledge the person may not even know he or she has, and then find ways to organize, tag, and categorize it so that others can access it. Collaborative technologies capture and share both explicit and tacit knowledge. For instance, communities of practice, which are groups of individuals who come together to learn from one another and share knowledge about their professions, typically rely on online discussion forums, shared workspaces, wikis, blogs, and other social media. Wikis are also gaining popularity in corporate settings as a means to capture and share knowledge. The bits and pieces of knowledge that emerge from all these meetings, notes, interviews, documents, and videos will be like a chaotic library with no searchable catalog until they are all organized in some kind of repository. An organization might use a variety of technologies as an organizing framework for their knowledge repositories. Many so-called knowledge management systems are actually powerful document management systems which track and store all kinds of media, converting from paper to transmissible and searchable digital format. These systems include extensive search capabilities and also offer workflow tools so the content can be reviewed and approved before publication. Document management systems may also include extensive content management features, along with the tools to convert paper-based records into well-organized electronic libraries. Less formally organized repositories, such as those that might emerge in wikis, blogs, social networks, and other social media, can use other methods to search and share the contents. Knowledge is not always valuable or useful, and much that is captured should be edited or just tossed out. Engaging others to help determine the value of a knowledge repository's contents is one way to sift through the junk. In a knowledge base, for instance, users who call up an entry and use it to solve a problem can rate its value directly in the system. From a senior manager's perspective, capturing valuable intellectual capital and sharing it with all the employees seems like a magnificent idea. But the employee may feel differently. A person's knowledge is a large part of what makes that individual valuable to any organization, and to a large extent it determines salary, title, status, and promotion opportunities. Some employees will actively hoard knowledge, perceiving that their value to the organization drops as they share expertise with others. Employees may also judge that time spent adding to any knowledge base means they are away from their other productive activities. They may become free riders and actively use the knowledge base to achieve their own goals, but they don't add to it. Their free riding eventually causes others to drop out as well, as they observe the inequity. Another obstacle is that over time, people gain knowledge that improves their own productivity, but that they may be reluctant to share. Finally, enthusiastic early contributors may get turned off as their content is critiqued or corrected by others. Lukewarm ratings by users may discourage contributions, and no one likes to be publicly corrected or contradicted. Most successful projects incorporate incentives to counteract some of the human tendencies not to share knowledge. Monetary rewards such as cash bonuses, reward points, and gift certificates, and non-monetary rewards such as praise and public recognition can all influence sharing. Incentives can have unintended consequences, however. Bigger monetary rewards can encourage participation, but they can also lead to an organizational culture in which employees don't share at all unless they think that there is fair payment in the end. Some will start gaming the system by adding trivial contributions or splitting their content into smaller bites so they get paid more for it. If people can earn different amounts based on the manager's subjective judgments of the knowledge value, protests about fairness can erupt. Despite the pitfalls, incentives are essential. Non-monetary ones tend to have fewer downsides, though cash rewards might be offered for detailed contributions from particular experts. Rewarding teams rather than individuals for their contributions can be an effective way to balance competition and cooperation. Management support for a knowledge-sharing culture is also important, and evaluating sharing in annual performance reviews so it can affect raises and promotions can also reinforce that support.